Hello everyone and welcome to Inside ArtScroll, where the books you read and the people who write them come to life. We are privileged to be joined today by Rabbi David Sutton, the rabbi of the Yad Yosef Torah Center in Brooklyn, as well as the best-selling author of Living Shabbos, Embrace Shabbos, and some other very popular ArtScroll titles. Thank you, Rabbi Sutton, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, today we're here to discuss one of your new releases, the Beis HaLevi on Bitachon. But before we get there, give our viewers and listeners a little background about yourself and I guess your life leading up to now, Baruch Hashem, a successful career in Harbatzas HaTorah and in writing books and Svarim. So you grew up in
Monsey, New York.
Monsey, New York.
Went to Yeshiva Spring Valley.
Okay.
Went from there to Mir Yeshiva in Brooklyn on Ocean Parkway.
Okay. Who did you learn by there?
There I had the good old Altamirs, Rabbi Przhansky, nice old Altamir, and Rabbi Rosen. So they definitely impacted me. Mir Yeshiva, I lived with, the Altamirs, stories of Shanghai,
wow,
and all those, great people of yesteryear.
Old Litvische,
right.
Magidei Shir. Now you're of Sephardi descent.
I'm a Sephardi, right.
So how was that like being in a Ashkenazi citadel of Torah?
Well, it's there's Cham Ben Zion Abba Shaul also later became one of my rabbis.
Okay.
And Cham Yehuda Ades, and
that's in Kol Yaakov.
And Rabbi Yehuda Ades, who learned in Porat Yosef, his father was a Rosh Yeshiva in Porat Yosef, and his father sent him to Panovich. And he was excited to tell me once that he came home from yeshiva and he shared with his father a beautiful thought from Shmuel Rozovsky. And his father said over the same thought from Chacham Ezra Atiyah.
Wow.
And like he said, when it comes to learning, there's really...
there's one Torah.
There's one Torah. There's no difference. There's
beautiful.
No difference.
So then you learned in Eretz Yisrael there?
So I went directly from Mir Yeshiva to Ber Yaakov, Rav Wolbe.
Wow.
So I learned by Rav Wolbe for just 2 zmanim. Then he left the yeshiva, and he sent us to Rav Abba Berman, another friend of his from the Mir.
Wow.
So Rav Wolbe is from the Mir, Rav Abba is from the Mir. So that was my hashkafa influence was influenced by the
was
Mir.
that Iyun HaTalmud, I think?
Iyun HaTalmud, yes.
Yeah.
Now, Min HaShamayim, this is Min HaShamayim, everything's Min HaShamayim. Iyun HaTalmud was in the old Navardic building on Rehov Polanski.
Right.
Literally less than 6 feet away in a small alleyway was Chacham Ben Zion Abba Shaul's shul.
Wow. So
without knowing it, Rav Wolbe sent me to Iyun HaTalmud. It's next door to this great Sephardic Gadol who became my Rebbe. I spent 10 years learning under him every Shabbat. I ate in his house, and we became extremely close. So when we're talking about Bitachon and seeing Hashem's hashgacha, that's, everyone sees in their life how literally I got plucked out and put right there, and those are the things that impact your life. Rav Wolbe taught me how to think. I continued on with him in Eretz Yisrael for close to 10 years.
Wow.
Rav Abba Berman taught me how to learn, and Chacham Ben Zion taught me how to follow my Sephardic halachot.
That's quite a combination. A legendary Mashgiach, a legendary Rosh Yeshiva, a legendary Sephardic giant.
Yes.
So
of course,
that's
my
a tremendous
parents,
foundation
very
because
special,
your parents.
That no question about it.
Right. Your father is Dr. Sutton.
My father's Dr. Sutton. Yes.
Famous Dr. Bal Chesed.
Yes.
From Monsey. That's amazing. So you took that foundation, you came back to America, and what was the next step?
I was in Deal, New Jersey for 3 years, and then I joined Rabbi Ozeri in the Yad Yosef Torah Center on Ocean Parkway. And
in what capacity was that? What were you doing?
We were partner, co-rabbis.
Co-rabbis.
And for some reason, can't explain it why, but Emunah and Bitachon became something in the Torah Center that was being pushed. I'm not sure, I can't trace it to what, but for years we worked on Emunah and Bitachon, and it happens to be Rabbi David Asher, who's another famous ArtScroll author who's my chavruta for many years.
Really? Wow.
He was in our kollel. That means he joined the Torah Center when he was 21 years old. Straight out of yeshiva, newly married. He learned in the kollel for close to 10 years, got a simicha there, still teaching there, has a yeshiva there, has a young adult minyan there, And a lot of Emunah and Bitachon came out of the Torah Center through that.
Sure. And both of you have produced multiple wonderful ArtScroll volumes.
Yes.
So there's a lot of Torah coming out of the Yad Yosef
Yes.
Torah Center, not to mention the outreach and the impact on the greater community.
So we work together on a lot of Emunah projects. We talk about Emunah. So, we crisscross. I'm working on a Bitachon Sefer now, the Beis HaLevi. At the same time, I'm working together with him on another book that he's working together, Living Emunah for the Family. So, the Emunah and Bitachon is strongly rooted.
Right,
and of course,
right.
that goes back to, they say, in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, that he said, they once asked him, why don't you go on to the Svardim? Why don't you go on to the Svardim? So he says, my whole tachlit is to get to Emunah Pshuta, and they have it already.
Wow.
That's what I heard. I don't know if it's
Okay.
documented, but that's known. Svardim have a certain emunah in them,
Sure.
and we're just trying to bring it out.
Definitely a strong Messiah the
Yes.
Svardim have. We know the covet for Talmid Chachamim among the Sephardic community is extraordinary. So we're seeing tremendous Torah coming out of there. And your newest volume, the Beis HaLevi on Bitachon, or the Bet HaLevi on Bitachon,
Right.
either way, is going to be a sefer and a book that I think is going to be very well received. Describe why you chose to select this classic work by the Beis HaLevi, who's known, as the progenitor, the father of the Brisk dynasty.
Right. So this is where the Sephardi and the Litvak merge.
Got it.
So I have my love for Emunah and Bitachon, and I have my love for an analytical approach. My Rebbe, Rav Abba Berman, his Rebbe was Reb Chaim Brisker. This is interesting. He says, my Rebbe was Chaim Brisker. You mean your Rebbe was Chaim Brisker? You never met him.
Right.
So legend has it that there was one Reb Chaim in the Mir Yeshiva.
One Chidushei Reb Chaim al Rambam.
Right. And they would have turns as when you could do. And his turn was, 2 in the morning or something. But he went through the whole thing, and he said that impacted his whole derech and learning. He considered Reb Chaim his Rebbe in learning.
Wow.
Even though he never met him. He considered himself a real Brisker.
Right.
So although, he didn't necessarily learn in Brisk, but he considered that. So I appreciated the Beis HaLevi was very like Yesodi. It was fundamentals and foundations in Bitachon.
Sure.
Like sometimes it could be, mushy-gushy, feely kind of things, and the Bitachon was more like, when I learned the Beis HaLevi, it was
You
more
feel like
like...
you're getting the foundations.
Yes, there's a
fundamentals.
Yiddish word called Ausgebaut,
Right.
which means built up.
Right.
So I felt it spoke to me, and I saw in the Sefer, like everything was in there. Everything was in there.
That's interesting because you said you've been studying Emunah and Bitachon for many years. Did you study the Beis HaLevi on Bitachon before, or was this kind of a discovery that came
the
afterwards?
Beis HaLevi, starting about 2 years ago, I give a ladies' class in the Torah Center. And I like to take a topic.
Right.
And somehow Hashem put into my head, Beis HaLevi, it's this little kutchus,
Sure.
it's a pamphlet.
Sure.
I gave about 13 hours of shiurim on it. And it was well received, it was recorded. And I had my notes. Every year I give notes. So if there's 10 pages of notes per year, 130 pages. So one of the other rabbis in the Torah Center saw my notes, Rabbi Yosef Torah. He says, this is a sefer over here. So I spent about a year and a half, and I actually put out a commentary in Hebrew on the Beis HaLevi. Hebrew commentary. I'll believe that to give you a copy of the book.
Okay, I look forward to it.
And it was well.
And how many years ago was that
This
published?
came out 6 months ago.
Oh,
6
wow.
months ago. And it was nicely received. And we're in America, people say, Rabbi, a lot of people help me sponsor it, whatever. So, Hebrew doesn't talk to me. You want to put it in English,
Right.
then we're going to be able to really appreciate and enjoy it. So I said, okay, I'm going to put it in English. So this is how the Sefer developed. So I originally had a vision, the ArtScroll is Yigeres Ramban.
Right.
Yigeres Ramban. So Yigeres Ramban by Rabbi Foyer, I think.
Rabbi Avram Chaim Foyer. Yeah.
I love it.
Amazing.
So I said, I want to do something like that. Line of Beis HaLevi and some
Commentary.
Nice...
Stories?
But it's more like story style. That's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I worked on it for a year. And I said, you know what? Corona, perfect time. I'm ready to come out with it now. So I gave it to Gedalia Zlotowitz. I gave him the manuscript. He's excited. He says, you know what? I'm home now during the pandemic. I'm going to read it by the table. He's reading it. He says, you know what? It's nice, but it's not on the Beis HaLevi. It's more like your schmoozin, your essays. He says, we need something on the Beis HaLevi. I said, from Gedalia, what do you want me to do? He says, take everything you have, restructure it. Restructure it. It was ingenious because I was locked up. It took another 3 months. I worked on it myself. My
so it's
son,
a big job, really.
It was a year's worth of work on the back end.
Right.
Then Gedalia had the vision to recast it. My son, who was home with me at the time, other sons, because they weren't in yeshiva, so we made it a family project. And we were working to now say, okay, this belongs there, that belongs there. Then Reb Shia and my father-in-law, Rabbi Sherman,
That's what I call the contemporary father of Torah literature, our esteemed Rabbi Nosson Sherman from here at ArtScroll.
Yes, my dear father-in-law.
Yes.
So they had ideas, let's put insights in. Because the footnotes is so much that was there that in, so to say, essays, we have to turn to footnotes. So the footnotes will be smaller. Let's put insights in. The stories belong in the insights.
Got it.
The actual explanation should go in the footnotes. Then you have a nice, longer piece. We'll make an appendix out of that. So it was another 3 to 4 months work just to...
So a lot of work just coordinating the
information.
Segments of the volume and where
right.
it should go to make it most pleasing to the reader.
Right. Then we have our graphic genius, Reb Shia Brander,
The best.
who's now putting a lot of work into making it appealing to the eye. And again, he's the final word, getting everything in, how it's going to work. And we're really looking forward to something special.
Yeah, that's amazing. So the Beis HaLevi himself is well known for his Shalos Tshuvas Beis HaLevi ala Torah. What history could you share about the Beis HaLevi on Bitachon
This is
itself?
very interesting, very, very interesting. I don't know if you're asking me if there's any prior knowledge or not.
I want to hear what you have to say on the topic.
So the Beis HaLevi had 3 wives. His first wife, he had 1 daughter from. His second wife, he had Reb Chaim, the famous Reb Chaim Brisker. His third wife, he had Rav Simcha Soloveitchik. Rav Simcha Soloveitchik is not as well known. The Brisker dynasty traces itself back, or the current Brisker yeshivas mostly trace themselves back to Reb Chaim. Rav Simcha was the youngest son. The Beis HaLevi was nifted when he was 13. He continued on in Brisk. He moved to America. I think he was 38, something like that. I'm not sure the exact age. He moved to America, and he came with his son, who was named after the Beis HaLevi,
Yosef
of Spring Valley, he and his wife started the Beis Yaakov, and many, many things that happened there.
So that means the Beis HaLevi on Bitachon has been extant basically for 35 years. Is the whole existence of it?
And it came out in the back of a Beis HaLevi Sefer on Ala Torah, unknown, in just one printing they came out with it. And then from there, people put out pamphlets.
Right.
And when I saw the pamphlet, I said, I want to get it out there as a sefer. Actually, there are other There's recently another person, Machaber Eretz Yisrael, also came out with a parish on the Maimer Bitachon. So it seems HaKadosh Baruch Hu said the time is right for this sefer to reach the public in a great way.
Now, I noticed, as much as you said that someone told you that the Hebrew didn't talk to them, I found that the Beis HaLevi on Bitachon is written in fairly simple Lashon Kodesh.
No, I'm talking about American, Balabab who don't know Hebrew.
Who don't know.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying as far as the writing,
yes.
It's a fairly understandable Lashon Kodesh, and definitely very, very powerful, and like you said before, very foundational, very fundamental, without a lot of the fluff. And I guess what your Sefer and book is going to do, it's going to bring it to the masses in a language that they understand. Now, going through now Beis HaLevi on Bitachon in depth, give us a little overview on how the Sefer is structured, how the Beis HaLevi wrote it, and is there any one part of it that struck you as very unique or very exceptional?
So actually the opening of the book is shocking, where he says that Bitachon is a mitzvah. It's not parv. It's not like, oh, if I'd like, it's optional. I can have bitachon if I want. No. You have to. And if you don't, it's an aveira.
Wow.
To me, that was like, it's like putting on tefillin or eating unkosher when you're deciding how to react to a situation. So it's really, it puts teeth into the subject.
And it puts the onus on us to really master it.
Yes.
Right.
And another sign how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the Beis HaLevi to come out is the person who sponsored my original Sefer in Hebrew, so it was almost like a no-brainer, He was the one that even told me, very nice, I'd like to see it in English. At the same time, there was someone who was working on a parish in the Beis HaLevi, on his own, someone that fell in love with the Beis HaLevi.
In Lashon Kodesh, that
No,
is?
in English. In English. He had called someone an ArtScroll a year ago, gave it to him, somebody that was not, on the upper tier, so to say, but someone in ArtScroll. And he looked at it and said, it's small, it's a pamphlet, you got to put more into it. He put more into it, and he came back about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and he calls my father-in-law and says, you know what, I've been working for the past year and a half on the Beis HaLevi.
Wow.
And my father-in-law says, I feel bad, but we're already doing it. So the fellow was so upset. He says, I have to have a part of it. So he says, I'll give you everything. Whatever I have, I'll give it to you. Just take it. I want to have a part in the Beis HaLevi. I want to have a part in the Beis HaLevi. And we definitely gained from his work, and we put it in as well. So it's almost like it was sent an additional help from above in that. Beautiful. And in the end, he said, look, I wanted to put it out. I have to have a part of the sponsorship. Please let me have part of the sponsorship. I said, I'm sorry, I already have a sponsor. Right. So I ended up putting them together, and they duked it out, because the first it's my schus. He's pleading with him. In the end, they agreed. They made a pshara, they made a compromise, and they split it.
Really?
They split it.
Oh, we got the inside information.
They split it. That's why there's going to be two sponsors. And they're both appreciating each other that we're sharing the schus.
Right. And it enhanced the work, obviously.
Yes. But I'm saying, but the point is, when you have a case where I never had in my life that two people were fighting with me, I took that as a sign that means this is supposed to come out.
It's something special, obviously,
yes,
and they both recognize that this sefer, as much as there's been written on this topic, this sefer definitely, it's the Beis HaLevi.
Beis HaLevi.
It's quite special, and like you said, the fact that it's a recent revelation that the manuscript is out there makes it even more special. To think that just 4 decades ago people didn't even know that it existed.
Right. It's sitting in a suitcase.
It's sitting in suitcases. It's mind-boggling. Really unbelievable. You studied Amunah. The Beis HaLevi is on Bitachon. I'm sure this is something that you get asked all the time.
Right.
Amunah and Bitachon.
Right.
The terms are used by the layman interchangeably,
right?
But they're obviously different. So I'll give you the schos.
Okay.
Explain the difference and why, in light of the difference, why the Beis HaLevi wrote on Bitachon and not Amunah.
Right. So Amunah is, we'll call it belief or faith. Belief is, Rav Olbin says, I don't like the word believe, because believe, he says, a thing called paper Amunah. It means there's just sign. Do you believe in this? Yes, check. It's more of it's a conviction. But it means I'm sure HaKadosh Baruch Hu is running the world now. I'm sure. I'm convinced. That's Amunah. Now, right now, I'm sitting in the room. It's beginning to get a little warm in here. It's a little warm in here in this room right now. I don't know why. Is the air conditioning not working? It's a little warm in the room right now. So now, I can say I know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can produce a cup of water for me now. That's Amunah. Bitachon means I close my eyes and I rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu and I say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can produce a cup of water for me now. And I reach down over here and I say, oh my gosh, there's a cup of water right here. Look, it worked. That was Bitachon in action. That's the difference between Amunah and Bitachon. Amunah, I believe it could happen. Bitachon means I'm relying on Hashem and He's going to come through for me. That's the concept of Bitachon versus Amunah.
And the Beis HaLevi obviously focused on
the Bitachon, which is
aspect.
The aspect of you're relying on Hashem, you're trusting in Hashem, I'm counting on Hashem. It's more like I would say you're activating it. It's more kinetic. You're activating it. It's a relationship you have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you need Him, and you're counting on Him.
One final question. Any chiddush or anomaly that you found in the Beis HaLevi on Bitachon that you think is worth sharing?
Something that's extraordinary.
Something original. Something that maybe people are not familiar, even people who have studied Emunah and Bitachon, and people who have put a focus on the topic, that it's something that, an eye-opener.
So similar to what I told you before, the Beis HaLevi says that there's a rule called Schar Mitzvahs B'hai Amaleka. There's no reward for a mitzvah in this world. You put on tefillin, you get paid in the next world. So he says the same thing is said on Bitachon. People look at Bitachon means, I rely on Hashem for a parking spot, I got the parking spot, that was my payoff. He says, no, that wasn't your payoff. That's a side benefit that you got. But there's a reward in itself. Since it's a mitzvah, there's a reward in itself. And therefore, it's no different than any other mitzvah.
So any mitzvah that the Torah promises what seems to be a tangible reward on this world, L'man Yarichon Yomecha, or whatever it is, that's almost like a door prize.
Right.
Whereas the primary schar is going to be...
the added chiddush is that the same is said in Bitachon. Because Bitachon, you look at it, it's a way to get what I want.
Right.
I want to marry my daughter off. I have Bitachon marry my daughter off. So I got my daughter married off. Baruch Hashem. You don't chop. That's nothing to do with the reward for the actual mitzvah of Bitachon.
There's so much more coming. That's the promise of Bitachon, that the real schar, the real reward will
be
the
mitzvah, the exercising of Bitachon itself causes a schar.
Right, which is a big chizuk. Obviously, we have to learn it l'shem shamayim.
Yes.
But it's always, we know that the schar is there. I want to thank you again for joining us. We're very much looking forward to this monumental volume. I believe it's going to be very well received across the Olam HaTorah, across the world. It's going to be something that everyone of really any age and any background and persuasion will be able to appreciate. Thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure.